I am Jung-Ah, and we're an interdisciplinary group of 6 graduate students from Queen's University. Our various backgrounds come from film and media, art history, and cultural studies. In January 2022, we gathered as a group to conduct research on community-led art and art education in Katarokwi, Kingston area. Exploring artistic production and education as forms of social engagement and world-making, we were interested in formal and informal ways of teaching and learning that happen when community members come together and engage in creative activities such as making and doing something together. In this sense, we approached terms such as art, community education broadly, and included activities that may not be considered as art in traditional way. And the method of our research was mainly archival research and oral history interviews. For archival research, we searched and analyzed documentation, ephemera, and other materials relating to community-led art organizations and projects. And for oral history interviews, we developed a series of open-ended questions to engage community members, such as artists, participants, and organizers, in conversation about their experiences with community-led art education, and to include nuanced and multivocal perspectives on the histories of the organizations and projects. As a result of this research, we developed a 2-site exhibition at our partner organizations, which were Union Gallery and the Tett Centre for Creativity and Learning. And the exhibition is ongoing right now until mid-September. The exhibition is called Creating Communities Through Art, and it presents 23 local organizations, collectives, and individuals, including their artwork, documentation, archival materials, and ephemera that reflect the findings from our research. And some of us had a little activity of visiting Union Gallery yesterday after the conference ended. We also developed public programming such as poster making and mural projects at Union Gallery to encourage community participation and collaboration. And for today's talk on the topic of platforms, tools, and participation, we would like to discuss our approach to these concepts and how we developed platforms and tools, both physical and digital, to meet important goals of our project, which concerns maximizing participation, accessibility, and connection. We are thinking about different ways of breaking down walls through our engagement/collaboration with the community. So we wanted a platform without the walls. And for this reason, our presentation follows a narrative of how we faced our challenges to meet these goals and how we adapted to resolve these challenges. We will address 2 different challenge adaptation couplings. So the challenge 1 concerns how to best represent communities in the exhibition from the community-led perspectives as well as ours as curators. And it will be followed by adaptation 1, which elaborates on the curatorial and design directives of the exhibition. And challenge 2 discusses the difficulties we face creating an accessible, participatory virtual platform. And it will be followed by adaptation 2 that will be about how we adapted by making a website with features such as live feedback to maximize community participation.
Hi everybody, I'm Peggy and I'm going to talk about challenge 1. Community-led art education is a non-hierarchical, collaborative social practice that prioritizes group learning processes. In non-hierarchical settings, participants learn from each other rather than from a teacher or an expert, often while in the process of making or doing. In that spirit, for this exhibition, we wanted to open up the definition of community and of art. Our case studies include creative endeavors that may not be commonly associated with the word art. For instance, community gardens, martial arts centers, while also including organizations that have a history of gathering people around visual art. For example, the Artel, Modern Fuel, and of course our partners, the Union Gallery and the Tett Centre for Creativity and Learning. We researched organizations that combine creative process with education, public programming, and community participation. Accessibility was a priority. In the physical gallery space, we took cues from the Tett Centre and the Tangled Art and Disability Toolkit. Our first design challenge was to curate an exhibition that reflected the variety of organizations selected for our case studies. As curators, we were looking for connections between the organizations while also honoring the unique contributions and styles of each. As you all know, taking the work out of the community and putting it into a white cube gallery changes everything. Our hope is that by putting the works in conversation with each other within the gallery, we can facilitate actual conversations that the participants will have that can continue outside of the gallery walls. We're also very aware that this exhibition is just a piece of the ongoing story of community art in Katarokwi, Kingston. There are many more organizations out there, and we wanted to find ways to point to them also. Ideally, the exhibition will serve as a hub, a place where people can learn about the organizations that we highlighted and also have opportunities to add others to the mix. We included gray matter in the exhibition, such as newsletters, other archival materials from established organizations, as well as recent promotional materials from newer groups. With 23 participating organizations, the show itself is quite thick with content. Again, our goal is to both bring people into the gallery to learn about each other and to send them outside of the walls to explore and hear from the organizations themselves. In order to break down the walls of the gallery, or at least to make them a little more porous, we looked for ways that members of the communities could participate in the exhibition. Collaborative art making is one way to introduce artists from different organizations. We invited 8 artists to create a mural in the gallery. But rather than creating a work on paper or on canvas that would need to either find a home somewhere or be divided up or, worst case scenario, wind up in a landfill, we decided that the final product for our mural will be a time-lapse film. This way, each participant can have a copy and the work can live online for others to enjoy. We also have a poster wall at the Tett Centre next door, which will grow throughout the duration of the show.
Thanks, Peggy. Hi, I'm Anna. So during the research process, interviews with members from the case studies were our primary source material. The visual materials in our exhibition are access points to explore the 2 questions we posed to the audience as a form of participation. So these questions were, what roles can art making and arts education play in creating community? And how does your community use art making to pass down knowledge or enact social change? So Union Gallery, where the exhibition is housed physically, prioritizes experiential learning for students at Queens, learning by doing. Many of the organizations featured in the exhibition use hands-on learning techniques as well. As experiential learning and community engagement are core tenets of both Union Gallery and the Tett, these values were modeled in the development of the exhibition by bringing the community into the gallery and then reaching back out into the community, as Peggy described previously. Our role as curators is to create a platform that balances at once the way each case study wants to be represented in the exhibition and also our curatorial vision, which I think you can see on screen there. So in the physical exhibition at Union Gallery, we chose to display the case studies individually, highlighting the different ways organizations chose to represent themselves in their own space and versus how they are connected to Kingston's arts community. So as you can see, we had a lot of material in the exhibition and we decided to go bigger, which we were really happy with the end result with. With the amount of visual material and text, it was necessary to organize the case studies individually for clarity while simultaneously mapping their interconnectedness. So each case study has an online presence on their own, varying from social media pages to websites. Importantly, we printed QR codes to prompt participants and users to view the organization's own websites to expand the web of information, acting as portals between the online and offline space. So again, reaching out and back in. Our exhibition has its own website as well, like an exhibition website, thus creating a 2-way dialogue between the online and offline exhibition, which was crucial to our project. As many of our case studies use hands-on learning techniques, having a physical space where participants could view and interact with visual material reflects the practices and goals of the case studies. The physical space of the gallery and website exhibition necessitated complementary components, so both are extensions of one another. So, and it's also important to note that none of these case studies actually utilize the digital as a medium, so none of them produce digital-born artworks. Therefore, the physical exhibition needed to come first before the web exhibition could be built. For bridging the online and offline components of the exhibition, Legacy Russell's glitch feminism is useful in illuminating its relationship. Specifically, she writes, strengthening the loop between online and AFK. AFK is away from the keyboard or the physical world, material world. As curators, we saw it necessary to take the exhibition online to explore the potential of the exhibition through the lens of the digital, thinking beyond the gallery walls, the theme of this whole conference, as a means of archiving the exhibition and also enabling the exhibition to essentially live on in a virtual space and opening up opportunities to be iterative, adding more case studies to the project as time goes on. So in this sense, considering like adding on, this theme of adding on, we are equally interested in feedback from the community itself. The community-led approach that informed the exhibition design and display of the visual materials made it necessary that community could essentially talk back to the exhibition, what was missed, what could have been done differently, and to bring additional perspectives into the conversation. Feedback and reciprocity make the exhibition iterative and collaborative, which in turn is reflected in the pedagogical practices of the case studies and also in the mural project, which Peggy described a bit too. So I'll pass it off to Tia.
Okay. Hi everyone, my name is Tia, and I'm going to be speaking to Challenge 2, which is talking about the challenges we faced in deciding on an online tool and online platform. So when our project first began in January, we envisioned creating a virtual exhibition and having virtual components of our physical exhibition to create greater community participation and accessibility, which is something that both Peggy and Anna have talked about. So our goal of the online space was really emphasizing participation and feedback, especially after/during COVID, where so many organizations and people turned to online spaces as a tool of connection and crossing physical and structural barriers. Creating an online network or online form of participation in the physical gallery was pertinent. So we discussed many types of online platforms, and we decided we needed something to act as a continuation of the physical gallery in which folks could visit, participate in, offer feedback on their own terms and their own timelines. So this online continuation was meant to showcase the porousness, which Peggy also mentioned, the porousness of the walls of our exhibition as community artists, which are the foundation of our project, go beyond the walls of the Tett Centre or Union Gallery. So Mozilla Hubs was suggested as a platform and a tool that could produce a 3D model of the gallery that would meet these needs and was supposed to be easily used and created. However, we had little experience participating in 3D spaces and even less experience actually creating 3D spaces before this project. And we learned that online 3D models and platforms are not super accessible for people without formal training or at least someone there to hold our hands to walk us through it. So there was an intensive trial and error learning period in which we faced the following challenges: issues with large file sizes in free programs, the need for specific file formats and thus file conversions, then a need for knowledge of and access to that file conversion software, and then a need for knowledge of several different programs that are integrated within Mozilla Hubs, including Sketchfab and Spoke. So that then required intensive time and capacity to go through those many written and video tutorials for each subsequent program in use. Another important point in my learning process was trying to learn how to move in Mozilla Hubs. It was hard to figure out what keys to use to move forward or to zoom in and out, and I thought, as someone who's a university student who's used to trying to learn these new platforms that professors use all the time, and I have trouble figuring this out, how is a community member who maybe isn't as experienced with using online tools going to be feeling using this? So we were immediately concerned for how this was going to impact our participation. And so the viability and feasibility of creating an online space in this format really became uncertain. And not only was this format inaccessible to our audience, it was also inaccessible to us. So we met to discuss our options. We realized that perhaps we were going about this in the wrong way, and we needed to recenter our community organizations and the artist community of Katarokwi, Kingston into our focus. So we came to the realization that while producing a 3D model is interesting, it does not serve our purpose of reaching more community members the way that digital forms of events or projects are often viewed as or promoted as doing. So we had to rethink our approach to avoid using tech just for the sake of it. And so as Peggy and Anna mentioned, accessibility and community-led approaches have always been at the forefront of our minds, and we now have the questions. How can we use online tools to break down barriers while avoiding putting up new ones? And as Jen phrased it, our supervisor in the audience here, how do we use digital tools in a value-driven way that reflects and expands on the social goals of our projects, which Pri is going to talk about more now.
Thank you. Hello. Can I? You? Okay. So what Tia talked about basically led to the development of our exhibition catalog as a fully formed website. And the main page of our final exhibition website is divided with exhibition information, research team information, case studies page with all of the information for case studies, and a live feedback page, which I will be getting to later. So the lower menu that you see, that you see here is always available as an overlay to enable viewers to allow easy browsability and accessibility between case studies. So each case study organization page has key text. For example, I'll go into one for the little free libraries. Which is present in the physical exhibition itself, along with links to their own website and social media if they have them. On most of the organization pages, we have featured three key objects that were the most striking from the exhibition, but for others, we've provided a video or a masonry gallery, as you see here. So we wanted to establish a sense of unity and coherence between the gallery exhibition, the physical exhibition, and the digital space, which is this online exhibition here. And we decided to do this in several subtle kind of ways which connect the two through design and the interface. For example, all of the website links coincide with the poster highlight colors, and we also have incorporated several audio guides on the front page in Mohawk and English, as well as for certain selected case studies. So this audio guide can be browsed in the physical exhibition or the digital space. A website also allows for ease in mobile browsing as opposed to Mozilla hubs, which we considered before, which is it's viewable on a 2D format on just a mobile device, but it has to be paired with a VR extension device, such as a Samsung Gear or a Google Cardboard, to be fully experienced in VR, basically. So this prevents the full interactivity and participation for those viewers without these devices, basically. Additionally, a website is more versatile on a mobile device than an Instagram or other social media page, which would require an account or a sign up to fully engage with and comment on and leave feedback. A simple URL with our live feedback function is therefore more accessible than Mozilla or social media. So we've also included the ability, for example, to drag around certain photos. I've included in the mess page, for example, which allows kind of a level of interactivity that isn't physically available in the gallery space. We initially wanted to incorporate a curated hashtag feed, which Drew will focus on in a bit. However, we realized there were some limitations to this platform, to this form of speaking back to the audience. Sorry, I'll just refresh this. So we wanted something that would be more less restrictive, more participatory than a hashtag feed, for example, because not everyone has an Instagram account, and secondly, everyone posting on Instagram, people don't necessarily post photos anymore; they post stories. So there was a whole lot to consider. So we instead settled on this comment system, and we've included a system where you can post comments in live time. Your comments are posted in seconds, and you can either browse the physical gallery or the digital catalog and answer these questions. And just to wrap up, one of our main goals with this website was not only to bring these underrepresented organizations into the public eye in Katarokwi/Kingston, but also to allow the organizations to connect with each other, because I think that a lot of them, we all think that a lot of them exist in each other's peripheries, so they have no real connection to each other right now. So by bringing these communities into the digital space, the website becomes a space to preserve ephemera, which might not otherwise be preserved, and also to connect artists and community organizations to one another. And Drew will elaborate on that a bit more and conclude.
So a lingering concern that our team had was content moderation. From the outset, we had a couple of considerations that we wanted to think about. We wanted our website to nurture collaboration, interaction, and conversation. We wanted our platform to be a democratized space, and we wanted the platform to be a safe space from racism, sexism, or homophobia. To address the first two concerns, we settled on using the comment function. The third consideration, which is arguably the most important, proved to be the most challenging, and we're still kind of thinking through it, so I'll kind of give a little brief and kind of thinking about how we're thinking about this. So we had a couple of moderation options here. We could have any community content be completely unmoderated. While this would be conducive to open and unrestricted conversation and interaction, we viewed this as problematic because no moderation meant that any hate speech or problematic posts would be visible to all users, acting as a site of harm. Second, we could moderate each post individually. Being a diverse team, we felt that this could be a good option. We did not want to moderate constructive community participation, and so we drew a hard line at racism, homophobia, explicit content, or similar hateful messages. There were two concerns with us doing the moderation, however. First, we could misunderstand, fall behind on review, or accidentally miss a message. Second, we're asking users to provide critical feedback of our work. While we're open to feedback, we are human, so we are fallible, and there was the chance that if we received really harsh feedback about our work, we could be kind of tempted to hide it from public view. Our third option was using algorithmic content moderation. Here we had two options. We could either input a list of words, phrases, or images into a filter bank, or we could use preset content moderation algorithms with an existing bank of words or images. However, as Joy Boylam-Weeney, a Ghanaian-American-Canadian computer scientist and digital activist, has noted, our past dwells in our algorithms, and humanity's past is biased and quite problematic. A 2021 paper published by researchers out of the University of Michigan found that Black people and transgender people are the most moderated. The researchers interviewed hundreds of marginalized people and found that of all the identity markers that they asked people about, these groups were the most likely to have content moderated or removed. While this is just one study, it is telling of the sorts of issues with content moderation algorithms. They're quite literally brainless, so they don't have the contextual understanding to think through what they're reading, and therefore they can perform algorithmic violence or algorithmic bias. And here are three quick examples that I think are kind of pertinent to thinking through this topic. Just last year, TikTok users found that videos and comments dealing with the words Black audience were being moderated because audience contains the word die. However, the combination of white audience was not being moderated. On Tumblr, algorithms were unable to differentiate between female bodies and sloping sand dunes. And for a while, Coca-Cola allowed you to customize the bottles. The AI did not allow users to put the words lesbian or Black Lives Matter on the bottles, but it did allow the word Nazi. A reminder, TikTok, Tumblr, and Coca-Cola are all multinational companies with software teams, user tests, and around-the-clock support, and their AI content moderation was still problematic. At scale, or because of limited team capacity, as in our case, you must end up using algorithmic content moderation, but frankly, the AI just isn't good enough yet. You either have to dial up or dial down, and this is a problem that we're grappling with. What's worst, false negatives, so hate speech getting through, or false positives, where content is suppressed when it shouldn't be? The kicker is, either decision harms marginalized communities more, and those are the very groups that we're attempting to reach. Next.